asking. I have been teaching SAFE for a while, since 2014, and yes, SAFE has a new version, but more or less the core concepts remains the same. Now, since it's our first class, initially we will go through some foundational details about what is the certification about, where we can find out preparation details, etc., etc., and then gradually we'll start talking about the content. Yeah. So feel free to raise your hand in case you have a question. There is a facility to raise hand somewhere in the interface. Yeah. So probably you can see something like this, and then you can also speak up in case we have a pause and we can talk about your query and then move forward. Good. So we start with talking related to our program first, and then we see that how this particular program can help us in achieving what you want to achieve. So what's the name of the program? So it's a program. If I go which course is right for you, I think that's a good place to see a good number of certification listed. So Scaled Agile has many certification programs like Leading Safe, Implementing, Product Owner, Scrum Master, Lean Portfolio Management, and many more. Yeah. So around 14 certifications they have. And the Leading Safe is one of their oldest certification program. Initially, when they started doing this certification and training, they used to have Leading Safe and Implementing Safe program only, and then gradually they brought many more programs. So 80% of the time when people are getting SAFE certified, they usually pick up Leading Safe. This particular program is meant for managers and leaders who are expected to facilitate, drive SAFE implementation. And that's why the word leading is attached to it. So anyone who wants to or who is expected to lead Agile or SAFE transformation in their organization should go through this particular program. It is not primarily meant for any specific role, like it is not designed for Scrum Masters, Product Owner, or any role. It's a little generic, where you come to know the foundational details of Scaled Agile framework, and you know how the leaders are expected to behave and drive the implementation. And because of that nature, it also, this particular program spends good time talking about SAFE principles. So because as a leader and manager, you may not have a ready-made answers all the time. You need to rely on the foundational ideas which are covered under the SAFE principles. So all of you are attending this particular program called Leading Safe. If anyone has a confusion or feels that I am wrongly enrolled to the program, this is your time. This is your time to recognize that, and we can help you to find out the right program for you. So it's a Leading Safe program. Feel free to raise question if you have anything. What exactly we cover in the class, I will talk about it. I will give you a brief about all the topics, but high level, we are going through a Leading Safe class. Now, this program also has a certification attached to it. We will talk about certification in detail. We have a lot of support system to facilitate easy certification for you. But briefly speaking, if I click here, I can also find out details related to this certification test. This is like a 90 minutes test, which has 45 questions. I, as a participant, are expected to score around 80% to pass the exam. And this is a browser-based test, which means there is no proctor, no special application you need to install. You can just go and take the exam whenever you want. You get a 1 month window after attending the class. So like our class will finish next week. After that, you will get a 1 month window during which you can give the exam. We have a practice test to support your preparation. We have a 2 practice tests. And the Scaled Agile will give you another practice test, and with that and a lot of tips we will share in the class, the exam is not going to be difficult for you. So that's a certification process you follow once the class gets over. We will talk about certification in more detail as we go around. So any question on the foundational understanding of what is Leading Safe and the certification program attached to it? So all good till here? Okay, now some of the material you should be using to support your journey, and you can find that material at Scaled Agile login. So once you log in to the Scaled Agile, I have been sending some emails to you. You should be able to download something called digital workbook. This digital workbook looks like this. It has around 197 pages, and actually it contains the slide and some additional material which we are using in the class. So it's a Scaled Agile material. All the things which I show in the class are coming from this particular workbook. So my expectation is all of you have downloaded digital workbook by logging into scaledagile.com. If someone is struggling to locate and download this particular digital workbook, we are here to clarify and support you right now. So anyone facing difficulty in downloading the digital workbook? All good?
Yeah.
I hope all of you have it. Now it is important to log into scaledagile.com because that's the place you will give your final exam also. Yeah. So everything related to Scaled Agile will be done with the help of scaledagile.com. So please make yourself familiar. Whenever you have an issue, connect with us. If you feel that you have it but still later on you find some difficulty, do let me know. We will help you to locate this file. Now along with this, so this is your exam guide as well. So your 90% of your questions in the exam will come from digital workbook. So the slides has many pointers, and these pointers becomes exam questions. So as we go along, we will see many of these slides like things. Let me show something which makes sense a little bit. So for example, here they have a lean thinking, and lean thinking has some 5 principles of lean thinking. Now all these 5 principles are candidate for question. So you may get a question, which of the following is a lean thinking principle? Or maybe you get a particular principle and ask, what is this? Is it a lean thinking principle or something else? Something like this. So this digital workbook is a copy of your slides as well. And this is your B material, which will help you to clarify your practice test first and later on the final exam test as well. So that's the one resource you should use for later exploration. Now on top of this digital workbook, we also shared one PDF file which has lots of video content. Yeah, so this is something you might have seen, might have not seen. So see, our classes are, we try to expand as much as possible. We try to spend into 3 days, 2 weeks, but still many times the content looks heavy. Yeah, but it is far better than running everything in 2 days. But still the content is more. What we have done from our side, 90% plus the concepts which we will teach in the class are already recorded in the video format. So again, yes, they are using the version 5 terminology. Sometimes there is a change of name, but the concept remains 100% same. So our recommendation is, if you go through these videos, you understand the Scaled Agile framework pretty well. So most of our content, I will keep pointing out also that, okay, this is something you can watch in advance. So from today's class, I will talk about tomorrow that, okay, you can watch probably these things and come tomorrow well. And after that, when we have a 1 week gap, I will recommend specific videos which you should watch in order to get ready for upcoming classes. Scaled Agile has a specific recommendation for not recording the live class. So whenever we run a live class, because we are using Scaled Agile material, we can't record it. So we can't give you the recording of the class, but what we are giving you is our own pre-recorded content, which is not using Scaled Agile program thing. And please use this to make a best use of your classes. I will point out in between and say, okay, you can use this or in order to make a better understanding. So these are the 2 supporting material you have for study. On top of it, you will also get a practice test to get ready for your exam. Yeah. So you know what is Scaled Agile, you know what is exam process, you know the supporting material, workbook, and the collection of videos, and the mock test, which helps you in applying the concept in a question answer format. Any question on this space before I start talking about what is the content outline, and then probably we'll start the class. All good till here?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So let's talk about content outline then. So our class. So our leading safe class has primarily six lessons, six big lessons which will help us in learning Scaled Agile framework. So lesson one, which we will start with, help us in understanding SAFe from executive point of view. It is like that you are trying to convince the management about SAFe. It is like that understanding how SAFe helps in achieving business agility. So it has little high level content, not details, but it is more or less like, okay, what is the positioning of SAFe? Where you want to put SAFe when it comes to uses. So that's a lesson one. So we talk about what is SAFe, how it enables the entrepreneur network, how it enables business agility, and what kind of SAFe configurations we can have in order to support our development work. So that's a lesson one, which we will start today. The lesson two is a little boring lesson and it will run for 3-4 hours. It's a big thing. Now, why it is boring? Because it has a lot of theory. The lesson two contains principles. Now, many times people ask, oh, what do I do when we start development and someone takes unscheduled leave? What do we do when we have a situation where we do something and we discover it was far bigger than what we initially estimated? What do we do when we have a external dependency which is not resolved? So there could be millions of scenarios and framework cannot answer it. What framework can do is framework can help you in discovering the answers. Now, what is that? We need to understand the principle behind the framework. So lesson two talks about principles like continuous integration, focusing on incremental deliveries, focusing on working software as a delivery of a product, focusing on applying economic decision making, focusing on applying system thinking. So these kind of 10 principles are there, which we will learn in the lesson 2. We will also learn how the lean thinking and agile thinking is included in SAFe. So lesson 2 is basically talking about the brain behind the SAFe, the principles behind the SAFe, the value behind the SAFe. So we understand the SAFe thinking process or a scaled agile way of thinking. That's a lesson 2. We will start today and it will spill over till tomorrow. There will be few principles which we will cover in our tomorrow's class. We do have a detailed videos for all 10 principles. If you feel little boring, you have a place to watch back because the file which I was showing having all the 10 principles well elaborated. Yeah, so that's a plan or a second item for today. Once this gets over, we have a familiar territory. So we will talk about lesson 3 and lesson 4. It is like understanding role, events, artifacts, all those things. So what kind of roles are there in a SAFe Scrum? What kind of roles are there in a SAFe bigger team, which we call Agile Release Train? Who does what kind of meetings we do? What kind of artifact we create, like user story, features, enablers? How do we do prioritization? All those things, the execution part is covered in lesson 3 and 4. So lesson 3 covers basically roles and lesson 4 covers everything starting from discovery of a feature till release of the feature. So how do you discover, how do you put it, how do you refine it, where do you make it visible, how do you do PI planning, etc., etc. And finally make a release and integration. That's covered in lesson 4. So majorly, most of us are more interested in the lesson 4 and it will also run for around 5 hours. We'll start tomorrow. Some part of it and the day 3 will go mostly on the lesson 4. Yeah. I know it's too much information, but it's okay. You get a 50% of it, it's good. We'll keep repeating because we still have to go through all the content as we go along. Now, once we are done with the execution, then we again go to higher management style. So it's like from high to bottom, we came from high view to execution view. And after doing execution view, again, we go to management view. So management view of lesson 5 is more about governance. We have something called portfolio, which is responsible for budget allocation, doing monitoring, giving the right work to the agile teams. So we have a brief session around 1 hour talking about portfolio. So we learn how possibly a governance can be done in a SAFe environment. And then finally, we have something called SAFe implementation roadmap, which is a 20 minutes topic talking about how do you implement SAFe in an organization. So the approach they take it, that they give a pitch that SAFe is great, lesson 1. Then they talk about thinking of SAFe. Then they show how it works. Then they show how the governance can be done in SAFe. And then they tell you, you are now aware of what is SAFe. Let me explain you how you can implement SAFe in your organization. And this is like a content structure we follow in the Leading SAFe class. Any question on this? So you can say day 1 here, and the day 2 probably will go little bit here. It's like this, and then remaining will go in day 3. And that's how we can probably see it. Everything is in a digital workbook from a topic perspective. If this all is clear, then little bit on our mechanics of running the class, what kind of breaks and how do we run, when do we finish, etc., etc. So that's there, and then we get started. So we have a plan which I already explained. The session duration is 5 hours, 5.5 hours. Yeah, I don't know, I missed half here. Yeah, so this is something like 5.5 hours. And we do take break every 90 minutes, more or less. So our first break is 10 minutes, and our second break is 20 minutes. And hopefully, if needed, we will take a 5 minutes third break also. Just like this, we run for 90 minutes, we take a 10-minute break, then we run another 90 minutes, then we take a 20-minute break. Then we will run another 90 minutes and see if we still need a break for a 5 minute or something, because the overall duration is 2 hours only after that. So probably we'll need or not need, we'll see as we go along. So that's the usual style I follow. If someone has a recommendation, we can adapt, but this is how usually we define our breaks. All good? Okay. So if this all is done, then I am ready to start the class.